everyone, I am Brittany here with your art film of the week, and this week I am going to show you how to draw a nativity scene kind of in two different ways. The first way will be very simple, and then the second one will be slightly more complicated and more a closer up front view of the nativity. So let's get our pencils and get started. First, let's start with our simple design. You may need a ruler, so I'm gonna get mine out just to show you, because we have those nice straight lines with the nativity. So let's find our center point. Roundabouts, mine is here. So I'm gonna draw a line down from there for my first part of my roof, and then the same mirrored onto the other side. Try to get that slope about the same with my ruler. Okay, there's our roof. And if you want to leave it just a straight line like that, you can, but I'm gonna draw that edge right there and right here, and then meet it back up to the center. So we have our roof, and then a little bit in, probably about right here, I'm gonna draw a line down as straight as I can. Same thing, we're gonna go in about here, and then I'll draw another straight line. And then same thing, if you want to make it a little wider like your roof, you just go on the other side, parallel to that other line. Okay, there we have our simple outline of our roof and two sides of our stable. And then let's draw some circles for Mary and Joseph's head. So we're gonna kind of go off these sides and draw two circles to mark where Mary and Joseph will be, and maybe draw Mary's a little lower than Joseph's, because we're gonna draw Joseph standing off while Mary is tending to Jesus, maybe kneeling. So draw your two circles for their heads. And then let's do some ovals for their body. So just underneath, two ovals, and since Joseph is standing, his oval is going to be a lot longer. And then we can connect those two where their neck would be. And then off of these ovals we just drew, we're going to draw some tiny circles for where their hands are going to be in that prayer position. And since both of them will be wearing robes, we don't have to super worry about anatomy with them. So we're gonna come down from our oval and just make kind of this. I'm not really placing my lines perfectly, but just kind of wavy lines. And then I'm gonna kind of come up at an angle here because she's gonna be kneeling. So we're just doing the wavy lines for the bottom of that robe. And then Mary will have a headpiece. So her eyes would probably be right here if you want to make a dot just for reference. And then I'm just drawing a little squiggle kind of around that and then bringing up around where we drew that circle. Because when you have something on someone's head, it's not going to be directly like on their skull. It's going to sit kind of higher than what you drew. So we're going to kind of come around her head shape, a little bit of a circle, and bring it down. And then kind of draw a line to cut it off there. And I'll show you what lines you want to erase in a second. But now, since her arm is, if you want to draw these lines lightly, you can. Her arm is technically like this. But when you have a robe, you're going to kind of have some fabric laying over that arm. So it's not going to be tight. So we're going to kind of come from her shoulder here and then connect there. But then here we kind of will have some draped fabric like this. Kind of just more of those wavy lines like we did down here. And bring it up to that robe. And then since her neck is here, we can kind of make a circle there for it coming out of that robe. And then since her headpiece is still here, we're going to kind of drape it over her shoulder like this. Do a squiggle out, and then squiggles like the robe over her shoulder. And before we move on to Joseph, actually there's more we have to do on Mary, but I'm going to show you what lines to erase. So this line right here that was part of our circle, you can erase because that's now her headpiece. Same with everything inside that headpiece. You can erase. And then this oval, we can erase the insides of that robe. Do kind of want this still because it determines where her robe ends. Now let's kind of bring out the chin of Mary. We're still gonna make it simple and make it rounded. Fix that head covering a little. And then with her face, you don't have to fill in her face if you don't want to. You can leave it even simpler and not do her face. But her nose would be about right here. If you just want to make like a C shape for her nose. And then 2 eyes, one about right here, 2 circles. And then just do a simple smile right under that. And then we'll do some pupils on those eyes. And then she looks weird because we don't have eyebrows yet. So let's add some eyebrows. And then I'm gonna add a line here just to make it more apparent that this is a sleeve of her robe. And then for her hand, we're gonna use this circle, but she's in a prayer pose, so we're gonna kind of make it almost like a Christmas light bulb shape. And then you don't have to add the fingers, but her fingers would technically be like this. So that's our simple Mary. Okay, so moving on to Joseph. Scooch my sketchbook over a little. So it's gonna be similar to how we did Mary, but Joseph is standing. So his robe will still kind of flow down like this. We can draw those lines lightly to make sure we know his arm and wrist and stuff will be right here, and technically you can kind of do a light line to, like, this is his shoulder and his arm is bent. But then his robe will kind of come down like this. And then draw those wavy lines down here. And then his robe, I'm going to kind of draw a curved line right there because that's like the sleeve hanging, and then a line down like this for that sleeve, and technically this would be like his inside of his sleeve. So then from there we can draw, our wavy. It's actually longer than that. We're gonna do a longer wavy to here since he's standing, and bring that up to his shoulder. Here, I'll erase some so I don't confuse you. So all this is going to be his big sleeve. Actually, you wouldn't really have to do the wavy if you don't want to. It's just this one single wave down here. And then it brings it up like this. And then his neck. Then we can already go ahead and make that hand shape like this if you want to. Just almost like a Christmas light bulb. Bring it up like that. So you're using that circle just on either side. And then he is a little bit more complicated because we need to do a beard. He doesn't have a head covering, but he does have a beard. So his ear is going to be, if you go from his neck, it's going to be about right here. So we'll go ahead and put that ear in because that helps figuring out where his face is. And his beard is going to be about right here. So we'll do like a C, an upside down C. And then he'll have a smile about right here. And his beard, we gotta make it coming off of his chin. So I'm gonna do a little point coming off of that chin and up like that. And then you gotta leave a space for his mouth, so we'll do another C on top of that mouth we drew for the mustache part. And then you gotta, it almost looks like an eyeball. You gotta do another curve because that's gonna be skin right here for his mouth. So there's our Joseph beard, and then his nose will be about right here, so you can go on top of his mustache and do just another little C shape for his nose. And either side we're gonna put those eyes for circles for eyes. And for his hair, once again it sits on top of his head, so we're gonna kind of do a little triangle there, some triangles for his bangs, and then it kind of swoops behind that ear, then some more triangle shapes and around his head like that. Add those pupils before I forget. And there's our Joseph. I'll erase some of the lines so you can see which ones we don't actually need anymore. I'm just drawing a line right here so you can tell that's his chin, otherwise he kind of loses his head into his neck. You don't want that. Now we gotta move on to the little trough with Jesus in it. I'm gonna get my ruler out again, and right between Mary and Joseph, draw a short straight line like that. Oop, that was a loud click. And then gonna use a geometry term, and we're gonna draw like a trapezoid. So a line down and another line down, and a line across for our trapezoid. And then to make it standing up, I'm gonna draw diagonal lines down like this on either side, just kind of towards that middle. So there's our trough. And then we're gonna draw a half circle right here for baby Jesus's head, and then a half oval for him being swaddled in that blanket. And since we don't see a lot of baby Jesus's face, his hair, if you want to put hair on him, I'm going to do some more of those triangle shapes for his hair. And then we can put his little smile about right here. And maybe sleeping eyes. So I'm gonna put one eyeball would be there, and you wouldn't really see his other eye. And if you want to make his blanket look more like a blanket, you can just add some lines like this. Just some squiggles to make it look like it's wrapped around him. And then, because he's in a trough, we're going to draw some hay off the edges. So I'm going to draw a little curvy line. There's some hay off the side. At its feet, maybe too. It's almost more like a triangle curve, like a curved triangle almost. And you can even, if you want to cover some of that blanket, you can draw like little, maybe like mounds of hay sitting there next to his face. So that's our more simple how to draw of the Nativity. I'm going to go ahead and color this if you want to also color yours along with me in the music. Okay, now this is our a little bit more complex nativity scene, so I'll probably have less words to describe the shapes that I'm drawing, but I'm gonna try to make it as beginner friendly as I can. So starting with 2 circles, towards the center of our page, we're going to draw Mary and Joseph kind of kneeling next to Jesus this time. We're almost going to create like a face. So if you want to think about it like that for now, you can. So basically 2 eyes or 2 circles. And then between these 2, there's going to be a line. And then a U shape. So we make like this very excited face. And then we gotta add those rectangles for where that manger stands up. And for their bodies, we're going to have them kneeling, so it's going to be kind of more of a short oval. And then we're gonna do like teardrop shapes kind of towards the center of their chest for their praying hands. And since they're kneeling, their robes kind of puddle on the ground like this. Just kind of all bunched up on the ground. So we make that kind of, it's almost like a ghost, a simple ghost shape almost. And then since her hands are right here in that prayer position, we can kind of draw a C shape off there. And her elbow would be about right here. So we can draw like a V for where her sleeve is sitting. And then a straight line down from there, but then because of where your thumb and wrist are, you're going to kind of have that curve right there because of how your hands are. There's a straight line, but then there's like a curve when you have your hands like this. So we're gonna do about the same with Joseph, but we made him a little, or at least for me, I made him facing more of the front. So I'm gonna draw a little V down from his hands. And then one sleeve is there and one sleeve is there. And you can kind of meet it up like that with like a V shape. And a curve up. And then his robes will also be puddled a little right here. His 2 knees will technically be right here. So you can kind of add your curve in there like that. And then it'll kind of puddle behind him based on where he's facing, because he's facing more pointed this way. So it'll kind of rest more behind him, whereas her robe, Mary's robe, is going to be more off to this side. Oh, we didn't draw necks for them. Well, let's make sure we put a neck in there. Like that. It'll kind of throw off your circle a little bit, but you can still use it as your base. So then just draw a smaller circle off of that neck using the top of the circle you drew. And then Mary, we have to put a head covering. So half her face is going to be covered anyway. So I'm going to draw just like a C shape and draw that head covering here. And I can use that circle and bring her head covering down like this. And over her shoulder. And her nose will be about right here. And a smile. And then her eyes. And don't forget those eyebrows, so it doesn't look strange. And that curve for where her robe ends on up her neck. And then for Joseph, let's draw our circle off of our neck. And we're gonna make sure he has his beard. So I'm gonna draw a C shape here and then bring it down to where however long you want the beard into a triangle. So most of his neck is covered. And then draw like a little circle or oval mostly right here for where his mouth is gonna sit, because you need still some space in between the mustache and the actual chin part, the beard. And then his nose will be about right here. And 2 eyes. And you'll see his ear, so his ear is about right here. And then drawing that hair, just some basic choppy triangles. And you still, his robe will end about right here, so you still kind of need that line. And then for baby Jesus, we're just gonna see like the top of his head right here. Still do him from the side. So still pretty simple, half circles, half oval. Hair, squiggle. And then a little eye, sleeping. That smile. And then we're gonna actually put like a little nose poking out there. And just bringing his hair more off of his head. And then let's do a couple animals. So right here, let's draw a little oval. And then another one here. Another one here. This is going to be our donkey. Just kind of resting there. Then you connect these two like this. So that's his snout. And then his ear is probably going to be about right here. So just sort of a teardrop shape for his ear there. And then we're going to bring his neck down to here. Down to that oval. And his eye will be right here, but we're going to draw him sleeping, so we're just going to do that for his eye. And his nostril will be about right here. And since he's kind of resting, almost kneeling in donkey pose, we're going to do this. And bring his feet kind of underneath him. And then draw a little bump right there. Kind of like if you've seen a cat loafed. That's kind of what we're going for. And then his back hoof will be about right here. Like that. Connect those two and then bring that body down and around. Then his tail we can kind of put right here, coming off like this. And then his donkey hair, just kind of wavy lines. If donkeys actually sit like this, I'm not sure, but that's our donkey. Then over here, let's add a sheep. It's going to be kind of in front of Mary. So I'm just going to draw almost like a cloud right here for our sheep. And then he's actually going to be standing up. So we'll add some feet. Just little rectangles. And he's going to be looking up. Like he's trying to steal that hay from that manger, the trough that Jesus is sitting in. His eye is going to be right here. Dry ear. And his mouth right there. And then his little nose. We'll just draw a line right there. So there's our sheep. And then we'll add some hay in here for that sheep trying to steal. Kind of like we did on the first one. Just some straw hanging out there. And that's our a little bit more difficult nativity scene. I'm gonna go ahead and outline first and then color in, which I can remove some of these lines that we covered over with our animals. So yes, you could draw in all those animals first and then draw in, but it's a little bit easier to see what you're, to visualize a little bit if you place things the way I showed you. until you get a little bit better at drawing, then you can kind of not have those guidelines in there as much. So we gotta get rid of just all those guidelines. If it helps, you can just draw in things a little bit darker and then go in and erase. But I'm gonna outline and then I'm gonna color. So you can stick around with me and color with me to some music. Thank you so much for sticking around and coloring with me. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next week's video.